Meta AI is the personal AI that's tailored to you, now with its very own app. It's built to get to know you, offering helpful answers and inspiration. Looking for something to add to your bucket list? Meta AI goes beyond traveling the world. It remembers you're a basketball fanatic and suggests you attend one of the playoff games. Just start typing or speaking to get the answers you need, wherever and whenever, because Meta AI is your personal AI. Download the Meta AI app, now available on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
Choice Hotels get you more for your money so you can maximize any road trip. Let's get real close to hear the maximum sizzle of Comfort Inn's free hot breakfast. Maximized. Check into more. Book direct at choicehotels.com.
Hey y'all, it's time for Rolling Dice and Taking Names. In this episode, the guys review Rumble Nation, Huang, Butterfly Garden, Slide, and Timbertown. Plus, Marty tells us about Banana Ball and the Switch 2 launch, both of which I attended, and both of which are as great as he makes it sound.
Hello and welcome to Rolling Dice and Taking Names. This is episode 353. Wouldn't it be nice? My name is Marty.
And I'm Tony.
It's another one of those where a title is influenced by the passing away of an iconic musician, Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys.
Oh, those songs just made you feel so good.
All the Beach Boys songs made you feel good. It just had that good...
It had a good vibration to it.
Nice. Nice.
Boom, boom. Yes, I'm on a roll tonight. You got me on a good recording night.
That was good. That was good. Yeah, so he was 80-something years old.
Wow.
Unfortunately, he had a pretty rough life. He dealt with a lot of depression. He went through a lot of stuff. He's not been associated with the Beach Boys for quite a while, but still, it's the iconic voice. I mean, when you hear the Beach Boys, what you're hearing is his lead vocals.
And then, of course, his talented family. I remember in the 80s, the Wilson Phillips.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And his daughter, and I'm just like, holy cow. We talked about this in a previous episode. This is one of those where we go, he was still alive?
I think I knew he was. I thought he was still touring. I didn't realize he wasn't with them anymore because the Beach Boys still tour. But I don't know why I thought he was still with them. But I heard today he hasn't been with them for quite a while.
I mean, you just pointed out that John Stamos is a drummer for him. So
yep. He is. Yep. In fact, I know that they're touring around. It seemed like it was coming around somewhere around near here. Because it seems like I heard on the radio, it's like, hey, did you know who the drummer is? And I think they're coming somewhere near Charlotte sometime soon. So, yep. Brian Wilson, famously known as the lead singer of the Beach Boys.
Why did we choose a board game podcast over a music podcast?
I don't know. We probably would have gotten a lot more listens because a lot more people are interested in music than they are board games.
Well, I mean, boom. 353, last one.
354. Welcome to Rolling Tunes.
Spinning disc.
Spinning disc. Taking names. That's it. Spinning disc. That's good. Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
Okay. So, yes. There was someone else who recently... Sly and the Family Stone. Expect a future one to be named after Sly.
I didn't realize he passed away.
Yeah, he just passed away as well.
I did not know that one. Yep. Mm-hmm. There's actually a documentary I want to watch on him that was made by Questlove.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what streaming service it's on, but I really want to watch it. That's one of those bands that I like, but I don't know a lot about.
Yes. Just the funk R&B vibe that he created. I just saw this on the news. That's why I can say these things. Not that I knew. But yeah, I want to see that too. I was watching, I forget. Quest was on Hot Ones.
Yes. Yep, he was. I think that's where it came up actually too.
Yeah. And he was talking about it. So I'm like, I need to make sure I check that out if I can ever find out where it is. So, because I would like to see how that, hear about that. So, but let's talk not about board games. Let's talk about probably one of the most iconic things that is happening in the United States right now, and that is Banana Ball.
Yeah, so we've talked about this on the show before. Many times we've talked about the Savannah Bananas over the years. And it's a baseball team who has kind of become like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. And we talked about it. So it'd be great to see him sometime. Well, they coming to Charlotte. Announced they were coming to Charlotte to play in Bank of America Stadium, which is where the Panthers play. So it's a huge stadium. Last fall, they have a lottery system. I entered into the lottery. I got selected for the lottery. I was given a time. And if there were still tickets left when my time came up, I could get tickets. I got tickets, and we went to the ball game. So it is like a 6-month process to even get a ticket at this thing. That's crazy.
A couple questions came out of this. So first off, Banana Ball or Savannah Bananas, he did this so that the average Joe could go enjoy a ball game without breaking the bank. I'm curious. I know the Panthers needed their cut. If you don't mind me asking, and if you do, you can say, I'm not going to tell you. How much was one ticket where you sat?
So I was sitting in the outfield, center field, second row, and it was $60.
Okay. That's not too bad. That's not bad.
It's not. I don't know how much if they had to jack it up for the Panthers or not. Another thing I didn't look at concessions. I never went to the concession stand. So another thing that he does too is like we have cheap food. I assume it wasn't cheap because it was Panther run.
Somebody's family in the neighborhood, they went and they were posting online. It was like the typical beer prices, $16, for a cup. No, not even going to happen.
But there were 74,000 people each night. It sold out 2 nights, and it was absolutely insane. Yeah, the gates opened at 4:30. We almost didn't get in time before the first pitch because they had the merchandise stuff set up outside all around the stadium, and there were just lines of people standing in line to get merch.
Wow.
And they had booths for the Bananas and the team that they were playing, Party Animals, because they've kind of started creating a league, and there's 4 teams now in the league. And for those who don't know, it is they play baseball, but there's some unique rules. One of the main ones, it's a 2-hour time limit. They're on a clock. No inning can start after 2 hours. There's no walks. On the 4th ball, the runner heads towards first. Every player on the team has to touch the ball to keep them from advancing. What other little thing? There's no bunting. One of the rules is no bunting. Bunting sucks. I mean, that was one of the main rules.
They have another rule about how you score. It's something about, that's the biggest thing that I have not read about, but I know that they have like this competition on scoring, and that will determine what the score is at the end of the inning or something. I don't know.
If you win the inning, you get a point. If you score more runs than the other team, you get a point. Person with the most points at the end wins. But in the 9th inning, every run counts as a point.
Okay.
So that's how that works.
Yeah, I knew that was different, and I kind of like that, actually, to be honest with you.
No, it was. What was interesting was that so if the team in the bottom of the 9th ended up scoring one more run than the other team, the inning just stopped. They got their point. So that's how it just keeps moving. We never left. We never left the seat because I didn't want to miss anything, because between every inning, they're doing this entertainment, these games and everything like that between the innings. A lot of the stuff obviously is scripted, like that the players doing stuff like dances and stuff like that. But then I started wondering, with the Harlem Globetrotters always won. Or that was the idea. They was always going to win. The Washington Senators were just there to play ball, and you didn't focus on them. Here they've got the concept. Each team has their own personalities. Each team does their own thing, and they're playing competitively. Because I was right behind, I was center field, and I'm going, are they just going to lob right down the middle? They weren't. They were throwing breaking pitches. There was a couple of hits batsmen. There were strikeouts and stuff. So each of them were trying to win, but in the process, they would do trick plays, right? They would catch a ball behind their back, or the biggest thing is doing a backflip in the outfield when you catch a ball. It just absolutely blows me away. The shortstop, he's called the Professor, fielded a ball, bounced the ball between his legs from his glove hand, picked it up with his other hand, throws it across the field. The first baseman catches it behind his bat. It's just things like that. And so these guys are good athletes too, because I looked it up. Most of them are former minor league players that just couldn't make the cut to the major leagues, but they get paid more here than they do in the minors. So they want to come play, for the Savannah Bananas. And the way with Phil was laid out was really stupid. Well, not stupid. It's best you could do. So home plate was, imagine you're at the 50-yard line looking at the end zone. The back right of the end zone was where the home plate was. All right. Back right of the end zone is where home plate, and then looking forward. So the right field fence was about 200 feet. They had a huge net, and basically they could just lob it over there all night. But that means you got a long line going down the left field line. So basically it's the length of the football field plus whatever it is beyond the end zone, which is probably another 20, 30 yards. And a couple guys, I mean, that's 360 feet, jacked the ball out of the park. There was the one we saw was a walk-off home run, and it was a laser shot down left field line and took it out of the park. It was wild. So these guys know what they're doing. They are talented ball players.
Yeah, they were on 60 Minutes, and she was interviewing, and so go check it out on the YouTubes of the 60 Minutes review with the Savannah Bananas. They use wood bats, don't they? They don't use aluminum or
nope, wood bats. Yep. They use special balls, so people are wondering, is it a juice ball? So somebody who got a ball, sawed it in half, compared it to a regular MLB baseball, and they said there's really no discernible difference between the balls. So, I mean, they're playing legit.
And if you think about it, back in the day, there were the multi-purpose stadiums of baseball and football, because I would remember watching the football games and they had the infield in there, but those were laid out differently because now it's straight football. So you don't have the excessive sidelines to account for the left field line or the right field line, depending on how they laid it out.
Right, exactly. And did you know this? Did you know that the owner of the Savannah Bananas first team he owned was in Gastonia?
No, I did not know he was a Gastonia native.
He's not a native. He owned the Gastonia Grizzlies from like the mid-2000s to the mid-2010s. It's there he got the idea of trying to get people to come to the ballpark, where he started doing cheap food and gimmicks or games in between the innings. He only had a 2,000 seat stadium. You know, he would get under 1,000, and by the end, he was getting 2,000 people in the stadium every night. Gastonia built a new, for those, I'm talking like everybody knows what Gastonia is. Gastonia is just south of Charlotte. Like really, it's right down the road from Tony right now. So it's really close to us. But anyway, so Gastonia built a new baseball stadium and said, hey, we want you to share the stadium with another team. And he said, but I can sell out the tickets. I've got a product that I can sell out. And I went, nope, sorry, can't do that. So he said, fine. So he sold his team, went and bought some team called the Savannah Gnats, a failing baseball team, took the same gimmick there, and that was in 2016, and now he's selling out football stadiums. It's insane.
That's right. Oh, yeah. He went from that bankrupt team to where he is now, and Gastonia, that team that he sold, went belly up, and they now have a new team.
The Ghost Peppers.
I need to get me a hat.
I actually want to go see. I want a hat because I like the name Ghost Peppers. I think it should have been Carolina Reapers, but anyway, that would have been a cool name too.
I've been also a cool mascot.
Yeah. I could go on and on about how amazing the game was. Oh, it was funny. So when we left, it was absolutely insane. So 74,000 people leaving the stadium. And Vanessa said, oh my gosh, I can't imagine how a Panthers game would be. And we looked at her and started laughing. I said, imagine half the number of people leaving the stadium.
Yeah, your comment on Facebook was spot on. Hey, Tepper, this is what a sold out stadium looks like. You've never experienced this.
Tepper's the Carolina Panthers owner, for those that don't keep up with it. So I do recommend, if you have a chance to go. My bucket list is now to actually see them in Savannah in their home field. And their massive 4,000 seat stadium. So the chances of getting those tickets are pretty slim.
Yeah. Rebecca got me tickets to the one that now occupies that. And we couldn't make it down. There's a team that plays there.
But the Bananas still play there too.
Yes, but there's a team that when they're right now.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I'm glad you had fun with that. I'm jealous that you got to do that. Would hopefully someday see them just like you down in Savannah, but that window is closing quickly.
So one last thing is they're adding 2 more teams next year. So they got 4 teams in the league. They're going to 6. And I just saw an announcement saying on October 7th, they're going to announce what cities they're visiting because 150 cities have put in to host games next year. And a ton of cities want to host the new teams because next year they're actually doing an actual championship game. They're keeping actual records, and the 2 best teams will play each other in the championship.
Okay. All right.
And
good for them.
All their teams are streamed live on their YouTube channel for free. and they're also on ESPN Plus. I actually watched the Saturday night game, and I thought at only 2 hours, I'm like, I could sit here and watch a lot of their games. I'm actually entertained here. Maybe the gimmicks get old after a while, but I was enjoying what I was watching.
I was watching one, and it was actually the Party Animals versus another team. I forget which one it was. And they were having streaming issues, or I was having streaming issues. And I was like, oh man, this sucks. Maybe I'll catch it later. And I never went back. So, all right. Well, before we go into some of our reviews, I did have a question because I've been following this. CMON, what up?
Man. So
Wow.
for those who haven't kept up with it, CMON is basically selling off a lot of their properties. I mean, I think the first big one announced was the 3 big games that Eric Lang did: Blood Rage, Ankh, and what is the third one? It's the Asian themed one. Anyway,
people can scream at the podcast.
Everybody scream at it and tell me what it is. Yeah, sold that off. I went, dang. And then who got it?
When they announced the fact that they sold off Zombicide, I was like, okay, are they just trying to shed old properties to revitalize the company? I was just kind of curious what they were doing.
As Tabletop Tycoon bought its Rising Sun. So Asmodee bought Zombicide, and I'm like, dudes, that's y'all's cash cow for the past 15 years. How are you getting rid of that? So I know they've been having some financial issues. I know that they were supposed to have, they're in the stock market over in Asia, Singapore, Korea, and they were supposed to do a financial report, and they put it on pause and didn't do it, which made everybody think, okay, something's wrong. And then all of a sudden, they're selling these properties like crazy. So they did post that, hey, we got our projects that is currently in Kickstarter. We're going to look to fulfill them. We got some other projects we're working on. I'm like, you got Deceased, which is something they have, the Unlimited, Marvel Unlimited, DC Unlimited, and their Cthulhu Must Die. I guess that's their biggest ones. But if Tabletop Tycoon remakes like Blood Rage, they're going to make a fortune. To me, it'd been easy. CMON remakes and re-releases Blood Rage and make a fortune.
A lot of people missed out on it. Even if you scale it back and not have those awesome, cool miniatures, there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe as people continue to look at their financing, they may say, I really don't need all the blinged out stuff. Who knows? So yeah, I was surprised by that, especially Zombicide. But they haven't, to my knowledge, they really haven't done another Zombicide in a while.
Maybe they're just done. I'm curious to see what Asmodee does with it. Do they just, carry it and sell it, or do they take something and refresh it and do something with it?
All right. So I was just curious. I mean, I know we don't have the inside scoop, but I had to bring the podcast back to some type of board gaming news.
Or can we leave board gaming and go taste this beverage we have over here for Taste Buds?
Absolutely. Taste Buds. Two incredible stuff. Taste Buds. Two incredible stuff. Taste Buds. They're just a bunch of.
All right. What we have here is a new beverage. It's the summertime, so everybody's releasing their new beverages and everything like that. And what we have here is 7-Up Zero Sugar Watermelon and Strawberry Soda. And it's called, at the top, it has Endless Summer flavor. So it's their summer flavor.
Wasn't that a Beach Boys song? No. Maybe that was a Bryan Adams song. Summer of 69. Anyway, sorry.
I know Endless Love.
That's okay. So no, this was not
the
it.
song.
Okay,
Endless
maybe
Love. Lionel Richie.
Yeah, Lionel Richie. Yeah. So
okay,
all right, I'm ready.
All right, so you've already popped yours. Hold on, I haven't popped mine yet.
Well, I had to.
Why'd you have to?
Here,
there,
so that Donna could try it before me.
Okay. Do you like 7-Up?
I'm not a big 7-Up Sprite fan, so definitely do not like ginger ale. And I know this isn't ginger ale. But it is, sometimes you do need the refreshing taste of a 7-Up or a Sprite.
I think I do like Sprite more than 7-Up, but we'll see how this goes.
We'll see. I got some strawberry.
Ooh, that's a bad aftertaste for me.
Not coming, I don't have that, but
ooh,
It's more strawberry than watermelon.
Watermelon. I loved the Mountain Dew watermelon flavor.
Yeah. Major melon.
Yes. This not so much. But then I'm not a huge I taste the 7-Up. I'm just not a huge 7-Up fan because it's a history I have with 7-Up. 7-Up is what my parents always gave me when I had an upset tummy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, they wouldn't give you this. Woo. That's even overly. I mean, not much can be overly sweet to me, but to me, there's just I'm not digging the strawberry. I don't like strawberry flavored soda. You know, I just
strawberry flavored. Okay.
Yeah, I love strawberries. Oh my gosh, yes. Nothing is happier than April, May time frame when those strawberries are coming fresh off the out of the field, cutting them up, throwing some sugar on them, getting them all juiced up, and then throwing them on top of some fine pound cake. Then put a slab of vanilla ice cream on that, and then put some whipped cream. Ooh, that's some good dessert there.
Pour some sugar on me.
That is Def Leppard.
Very good.
See, a music podcast.
I knew this. I know. Spinning disc. Here we go.
Spinning disc, naming tracks.
Now the strawberry that I do want to get is I want to get this Pop-Tart strawberry ice cream sandwich.
We'll be doing a remote taste buds on that probably on our next gaming night because they are in stock.
Dude, right beside the Walmart that has them.
That's right. I already checked it out, making sure of that. And they'll melt, so we have to eat all of them. And I think there's 4 in the box.
There's 4 of us at the table. We are set.
We are set. So I'm very excited. That. All right. So this is the 7-Up Summer Breeze.
Endless summer.
Take me away.
Summer breeze, take me away. Makes me feel fine.
I like that one too. Endless
Takes
summer.
me away is Calgon. Is it Calgon taking me away? The commercial?
Yeah. Okay. Well, as we finish up the taste buds, I did finish up the floor. Did we already talk about the end of the floor? I think we did.
We may have done it with each other, but not on the show.
All right. Well, let's save that for the outro. Did you miss your opportunity to pledge to Race to Berlin from Portal Games?
No, I didn't.
Well,
I did. I was number 1, actually.
You're number 1?
I was the number 1
money?
backer. Mm-hmm.
Good for you. Good for you. So you went over there, but I'm over on the Game Found. You can still do a late pledge is open. If you just late pledge and you press this purple button that says Zobachi Originalna Campiani, that's Italian Polish. I think I'm messing up here. It's my website's all in Polish, but click here. You can back it. If you've already done that, head over to Shop Portal Games. Use the code CASHFLOW at checkout to save even more money.
25% off.
Is it 25%?
25%. And that's a good time to do that because he's making room for brand new games, including Age of Galaxy, which is now on the ship. On its way to the U.S. Should be here in early July, so to be there at Gen Con. Tony, I can't wait to play this card game. I've heard really a lot of good things about it. And he is just geeking out over a game he's been showing off called Bohemians, which will be coming out at Essen.
And of course, coming soon, Hiroshima Hex Battle. Looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
But don't forget about some of his classics, Robinson Crusoe. You cannot forget about Robinson, the game that just defines you. What a great person you are on this co-op game, and it just crushes you. Resurgence, we've talked about it here. Thorgal, the board game. Go over there and check that out. So be sure to use CashFlow when checking out at shopportalgames.com.
Five-minute initiative begins in 3, 2, 1.
A couple episodes, we reviewed the game called Skyjo. A game where you're going to take 12 cards, numbered cards, put them face down on the table, and over the course of the game, you're going to reveal those cards, and once all the cards are revealed, your goal is to have the lowest points possible, and one way to help yourself have low points is get a column of matching numbers, and when you do, you eliminate that column so you ain't got to count it at the end. So when Gigamech was offered us a game called Slide that has kind of the same mechanics. This game is from Claude Clement. I thought, okay, we got to try this because, Tony, in this game, it's also numbered cards 1 through 10, but instead you build a 4x4 grid. All the cards are face down. But the difference is now Each of you at the beginning of the round is going to take one of those face down cards and put them up at the middle of the table, leaving a gap in your board. Player by player, you're going to draft one of those cards and you're going to slide it into the row or column where that gap is and start shifting cards. You still want the lowest points at the end, and the way you can get rid of low points is make sure at the end of the game that you have like numbers adjacent to each other. So if I have an adjacent set of like 3 5s that are all orthogonally adjacent, they cancel each other out and I don't add those into my final score. So you're drafting, sliding in order to try to achieve the lowest goals. So Tony, the mechanics or the way that you play the game feels a lot like Skyjo, but the whole sliding thing of adjusting your board is where this adds a little new element that Skyjo didn't have.
And as far as strategy goes, compared to Skyjo, it's nowhere near that. Skyjo was there strategy in Skyjo? There was some.
There was some in there.
Yeah, here's some, this is like, what did everybody flip over and what am I left with? Or if I got the first pick, and how do I, if I'm the first pick, maybe where I pick my card out of my 4x4 grid determines what I want to do. Because I will get the...
I did that. If I had first pick, that dictated which card I was going to flip because I knew I had 3 choices to choose from.
Right. And how you're sliding, you're like, okay, if usually we all ended up picking from the middle or trying to slide our unknown cards towards the middle to give us the ability to either slide left, right, top, or bottom. Yeah, you're not going... When you have the hole, you're not just going to fill the hole. You have to slide and insert the card from the left, right, top, or bottom. Okay? Just make sure everybody's clear on that. Hint, hint. Just saying.
That was a dig at who we're playing.
Yeah, just a little bit. So slide. So I explained this game to Donna, and she's like, "Okay, that sounds like a lot of fun." And I said, "It's very simple." I'm like, and she goes, "I know," but she's like, "We're at the point in our life where these simpler games are just what we need."
Yeah. No, I agree. And what's cool is we play. By the way, the goal is basically you play until somebody gets to 100, and then whoever has the lowest score wins. You can adjust that if 100's too long, play 50, etc. But what I found was, Tony, that early in the game, there was this one situation where I had an 8 on one row and an 8 on another, but they weren't orthogonal to each other. But I knew that over time, as I started creating these gaps, I could slide them to where eventually at the end of the game they were going to be adjacent and then cancel each other out. Now, I will say, Skyjo did have this element of, I'm going to replace this card with this card. I'm going to flip over this card that I don't know what it is. Oh, shoot. Tony's the next player. It's exactly what he needs. There's that little bit of, oh, crap. Each turn when you flip over a card, there's that kind of excitement, that endorphin rush, and you do that. That's not as much here because everybody flips over at the very beginning, so you know exactly what you're dealing with. But it is a strategically different game than what Skyjo is. I felt Skyjo was probably a little more push your luck than what this one was.
Yeah, I agree with that. The slide, when everybody reveals and you're like, oh, okay, I've got 2 options to pick from. Or, oh, man, I'm not going to be screwed over as much as I thought I was going to be when I turn over the 10. Somebody else turns over another 10. You're like, okay. And there's even a little hate drafting in slide because you're like, okay.
100%. If I see a card if you got a 10 sitting there on the table and the gap is right beside your 10 and there's a 10 that can be drafted, it's like, do I suck up the 10 or let him have the 10?
And take the chance that maybe I will get another 10 to cancel it out. And then there's that going on. All right. Yes. So once again, Skyjo, we liked. Slide. Definite one for, this is another cruise boat trip game that I'm going to have. So yeah, definitely enjoy that. And I really think that, it's one that with younger kids, and this is a great game for young kids. So us oldsters and the youngsters. So that is Slide from Gigamech.
5-minute initiative is complete.
Okay, I have a history with this next game we're going to talk about. This is Rumble Nation from Japanese designer Shinichi Yogi, and the artwork, which is really good, is by Toru Kageyami. The reason why I have a history with this, Tony, is because when this came out in 2017, I heard a lot of rumbling about it. Hey, man, y'all ought to see this really cool Japanese game, this area control game that is really unique. And I went, oh, that's sweet. How do I get it? Well, it's not in the US market. I actually contacted a Japanese store that was selling it to see how much it would cost to ship over here, and it was just way too much money. So it's like, well, I guess I'll never get to play this until this year. Asmodee picked it up, translated it, and brought it over here, and we got a copy to play. This is Rumble Nation Deluxe. And Tony, this is one of those games that I love to harp on where the rules are so simple, but the gameplay is so engaging and so much fun that I just really had enjoyed my time with it.
When you say the rules are simple, there was some challenges for us with, trying to understand how, resolving the various actions that we had to do. So we had to work through that, but you're right. Once we got into the flow of the game, I agree with you. The rules are fairly simple. Now, I'm not an area control kind of player. So I was kind of curious how this was going to go over with me. And if I were to judge this game based on my score, I would never play this again.
But we played it back to back because the game only lasts like 30 to 45 minutes. It's super fast.
So on your turn, a simple thing that even I could grasp, believe it or not.
Well, hold on. Explain to them what it is. I mean, so we have a map of 11 different areas on the map. You have these tiles numbered 2 through 12. You're going to randomly put them on one on each spot of the map. Each of you get 3 dice of your color and 18 meeples of your color. And on your turn, Tony, you will.
I'm going to roll 3 dice. My dice. I'm rolling 3 dice. And I'm going to put 2 of those dice together and hopefully add up a number. All right. That's my first challenge.
Hopefully add up a number. You will add up a number.
I will. But you know me, I may try to, say, oh, that's a 7 and that's actually an 8. So yeah, so think of it like this: you've got those markers out there, from the 11 castles is what they're calling it out there, and you add up those dice. That's what determines where you are going to be placing your meeples. The number of meeples you place is dependent on that third dice that you did not take. So if you have a 1 or a 2, you get to put out 1 meeple. If you have a 3 or a 4, you get 2 meeples. A 5 or a 6, you get to put out 3 meeples. Next person goes. They roll the dice. You keep doing this, and the decisions you're making on placing the meeples is very important. Also, what's important is knowing that always taking, and I know I'm jumping, but this is me. You've got to really think about the combinations that you're doing out there because you don't want to suddenly be out of meeples and everybody else gets to play, right?
Yeah, because once you're out of meeples, you basically just sit and watch everybody else play. Now, I also didn't mention there's also a deck of tactics cards, and you're going to randomly deal 4 at the beginning of the game. Those are tactics cards that instead of rolling dice, you can take one of those tactics cards and use it. Typically, these tactics cards are moving your meeples around on the map that's already there, maybe swapping a position with somebody else, sending one of their meeples back to somebody. So they have these little advantages that you might want to use, but those tactics cards are one and done. So if I claim a card and use it, nobody else gets to use it. And once somebody runs out of meeples, you can't use those tactics cards at all, which is also part of the strategy. It's like, oh, I'm going to hurry up and run out of meeples. But like you said, Tony, once I'm out of meeples, I just watch everybody else play till everybody else is out of meeples.
And you can also, there's one option is you can also add leaders into the mix as well that have special abilities. And when somebody runs out of those meeples, if you haven't used that leader ability, you're SOL.
Yeah. And we're talking about, so why would I want to put certain meeples certain places on the board? Well, because each of those positions, 2 through 12, are actually going to be worth victory points. If I have the most meeples in the one with the 10 tile, I'll get 10 points at the end of the game. And here's one thing I've talked about before in games. It's like when we get to the scoring phase and the scoring phase is long and drawn out, I get really bored and tired of the game. But what happens is once everybody runs out of meeples, you move into what's called the war phase, which is another part of the game, but it's the actual part of the game where you're also awarding victory points. And this, my people, where did that come from?
I have no idea. Well, I don't know where you're going from.
I was going to say this, yes. My friend, but I tried to make it plural. This, my friends, I guess I could have added an S, is where this game really shines because you're going to start with the lowest number. You're going to start with 2, and you're going to count the meeples in there from each player. Whoever has the most gets to take 2 enforcement meeples. These are white meeples that are assigned to you that you can then put into adjacent areas where you just scored as long as you have existing meeples there. So if I have just scored those 2 spot, and the spot to the left and right of the 2 area has my meeples in it, I could put one meeple there, 2 and 1, etc. And then I claim that tile that we just scored, because that's going to be victory points at the end. The person who comes in second gets half the victory points of that tile rounded down. And then we move to the next lowest, which would be number 3. But Tony, hopefully I explained that well enough to show that, do you see what's happening? It means with each spot that's scored, more meeples are being put on the board that could influence the majority of an area when we come to it to score it.
Right. So the adjacency is very important as you're picking which dice combination you want to use to infiltrate your meeples. You may say, all right, I've only got, I'm going to win this zone. It's not worth a lot of points, but it's adjacent. The 2 is adjacent to the 8. And then the 8 is adjacent to the 10. And the 10 is adjacent to the 12. So there is that cascading effect that can come into play. Now, I'll admit that I said you don't want to run out of meeples fast, but one thing is if you're the first one out, you get to grab the first tiebreaker marker, which basically it has 4 katanas on it. Okay, I've got the 4. You have the 3. I break ties. So if you and I both have the same number of meeples in there, I win. There's another. I don't want to run out too early, but man, I really need to get that tiebreaker before everybody else. So another decision you have to make.
Yeah. So as you go through each of those tiles, 2 through 12, you're putting out new tiles, readjusting. You're looking around. It's like, well, it looks like Mark is going to win this section, so he could send meeples over here. So do I want to try to beat him there when I probably could be guaranteeing myself? So all this is kind of going on not only during the phase where you're putting down meeples, but it's even more critical once the scoring starts happening, because everybody's trying to push additional reinforcement meeples to those higher scoring areas.
And that's, I think, when I was picking the places. Now, okay, so before I get to that thought, let's say one thing. It's got dice. So what does that mean? There is some good luck and there is some bad luck. We had a game where suddenly I just happened to get lucky and have a good roll, which allowed me on my last meeples to put it to where I could claim majority. And hey, I still didn't win, but it felt good that I suddenly stole something. Or you can just have a distribution of your meeples such that, man, I cannot get away from 5, 6, 7, and 8 because they just keep coming up, you know? But with 3 dice, you think that would be limited. Not so much. And of course, 12 and 2 are but that's the game. That is something you have to deal with. If
2 of the dice were 6s, you felt like I've got to commit meeples to that 12 spot in hopes that, because remember, like we said, the rule was you can't shift reinforcement meeples into an area unless you have a meeple there. So if you want to even have a shot at the area 12 and migrating some of your meeples into that area, you better have a meeple there to start with. So I think everybody, if they had the chance to put meeples in the 12 section, they did it.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you came in second, it's still 6 points.
So you look over, if you go to BGG, as you're listening to this to see some images, make sure you understand that the deluxe version has some meeples. Some may just have cubes. Heck, people have got pictures over there doing their own boards. I mean, that's a possibility, but what you don't gain is the various cards and the leaders that are in there. Now, we mentioned the leaders. Another point is the leaders are going to count as 2, right? When they go
Strength
out.
of 2, yeah.
Strength of 2. So that comes in play. Their capability depends on which one you have. And, you've got to sit there and think, okay, when we're playing with the leaders, how do I want to use him? I don't want to lose their ability, but if I put him in a certain area, all these decisions are happening. For the simple actions that are going on, it's a lot deeper than what you originally thought. You mean all I'm going to do is roll 3 dice and put out meeples? Pfft, how hard is this?
Right,
right. Based on my score, it's freaking takes a genius.
I posted my early initial thoughts on X about how much I liked it. David Thompson, the designer, chimed in. He said he loves that game. Absolutely loves it. And it's one of those things that right now, this is going to be up there potentially for me, the game of the year, because it's engaging, it's fast, the rules are easy, but you still got to do a bit of strategizing and a little bit of tactics. There's a little bit of luck involved, but that scoring phase is so tense and so exciting. It just makes the experience so worth it for me.
when you said David Thompson, you mean David Thompson, the game designer, not the game designer for this, just so, as people were listening.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah. He has played this one before too, because a lot of people are trying to get their hands on this and import it from Japan. So y'all, it's out there. I don't think it's that expensive either. Like over on our good buddies over at Miniature Market, it's $35. So it's not a very expensive game.
Yeah, but can they get it? Or is it, I mean, it's out of stock. So hopefully there'll be some more coming to the shelf soon.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So what are your final thoughts on it?
So for me, it was one of those games, simple actions, easy to do, a lot of strategy in here. I know it is only a game that I would play with the game group. There is no way that the family will ever play this, even with the simple actions. I think the strategy would be lost because they may be sitting there thinking, you know, like I said, I'm just rolling 3 dice and putting out meeples until maybe after the first game. But I think I know I'm rambling here a little bit, but
You think?
it's got, you think you gotta play with the right group here who can appreciate the strategy, right?
Right.
That's
right.
my thoughts.
Well, our group, except maybe from Tony, really enjoyed it. We all liked it. It's a very small box, so definitely staying on my shelf. And we covered this game. We're talking about 2 area control style games in this episode: Huang and Rumble Nation. I really, really like Huang. I probably put this one a little bit above it just because of how fast it is to get set up. And it's a short time to set up on the table, but still gives me a full experience.
And I need to counterpoint that. Tony liked it, but Tony sucked at it. And I don't know if it was poor dice, poor decision making. You will continue to learn. When those discs come out with the victory points, you really need to take into account how that is laid out. There's a lot of pregame in this that you may not realize.
Right. So that is a Rumble Nation from Hobby Japan, brought to us by Asmodee. The Game Toppers 5.0 Kickstarter is up and running, and Tony, it's already met its goal. So that means that you order, you know you're going to get something. But here's the crazy thing, y'all. The prices have not gone up. No. You know, in the day's world, it's like, nothing stays the same. Typically, prices go up. Berkey somehow figured out how to make prices go down. And that is across the board. I mean, things like the Watson, which was regularly $8.99, is now $6.99. The big Mycroft, which was $10.99, is now $8.99. He has dropped the prices on everything because he's found a way to ship the product to you to where you can do a little bit of assembly in order to save some money. And speaking of shipping, he's also somehow figured out a way to drop the pricing on the shipping. If you are in the US, that big old Mycroft table, the huge one, only $129 shipped. And shipping goes all the way down to like $25 for like a leg kit. I don't know what magic, Tony, that Berkey has pulled off, but he's done it. He slashed his prices. He slashed the cost of shipping. And I think that's why this Kickstarter has now taken off. So if you're interested in a gaming solution for your home or your group or wherever you're going to use it, now is the time to go get this. It's inexpensive and stuff will be released early next year. So you want to get in the queue, get your stuff going. Hey, we got another 30 days on this. We'll be talking about some future episodes of some of the special features. But the thing that stuck out to me is those incredible prices. Head over to Kickstarter or check our show notes for a link directly to the project page, or you can always go to GameToppersLLC.com.
Five-minute initiative begins in 3, 2, 1.
Back in 2012, there was a game called A Butterfly Garden from Reiner Knizia, and it was actually first released. This game was first released as Indigo. That was later changed to now Butterfly Garden. That's from Capstone Games. Now, if you've played a game like Suro, where you lay a tile on the board and you're sliding pieces around in those tiles down paths that you create with the tiles, this is going to feel very familiar because what you're trying to do is you have the board populated with some butterflies, and you're going to have 2 tiles available to you with little lines and paths on them, and you're going to put those tiles on the board. And if it happens to be adjacent to a butterfly, you're going to take that butterfly and slide it down the path. The whole goal is to get that butterfly to the edge of the board where one of your gardens are and collect that butterfly. Now, at the end of your turn, you're going to draw a new tile out of a bag, and it goes to the next player's turn. This is going to continue till all the butterflies are off the board. Then you're going to count up your butterflies, and the person with the most points wins. The butterflies that are easier to get off are worth 1 point. The blue butterflies, there's some butterflies in the middle of the board, which are worth 2, and one special one, which is worth 3. So, Tony, I don't know. I think you said you never played Suro, or you don't remember Suro that well?
No, I'll remember Suro. I enjoyed it the first few times I played it. Then after that, I was done with that game because I learned very quickly that is not a game for me. Now, one of the key differences between Suro and this game is Suro is only 4-sided tiles, where this is 6-sided.
These are hex tiles, yep.
Hex tiles, right. All right, so for me, I'm not very good with these types of games. I also feel like the luck aspect of it, of the tile you get, you need this type of curve to prevent you from gaining all these butterflies. And then it's just like, well, crap, I didn't get it. Oh, look, he's got that one. One of the things I did like about the game was the fact that I didn't have to lay a tile right next to another tile. Maybe I just threw one out in the middle, and people later, and maybe that's a strategy I should use in these types of games. Just throw it out there and see what happens. Randomly, maybe I'll be a blind hog and find an acorn. I don't know.
A blind hog and find an acorn. All right.
Or it could be a blind squirrel. I've always heard it blind hog.
A blind hog? I've never heard of blind hog. It's a blind squirrel. Squirrels get acorns.
So do hogs.
Hogs get acorns?
Yeah. That's CMON in Portugal, dude. Or Spain, the hogs, they only eat certain types of acorns. That's why the ham is so good up there. Google it. So Butterfly Garden. This is not a McCree game. I will tell you that right now.
Yep.
Nothing about the game. This is just not my wheelhouse.
I like this game because I did like Suro a lot, and I like the path laying elements. And I also like to, by the way, if there's ever a time where you put down a tile and 2 butterflies end up moving because both butterflies are adjacent and they run into each other, they're just removed from the board. I also like to, this plays anywhere from 2 to 4 players. Now, in 2 players around the board, there's a garden in every other edge space of the garden. But in 3 or 4, some of you will share gardens. I may have a garden with Tony, and if a butterfly comes off on one of our shared gardens, we both get the butterfly. So I found times when playing 2 players, I would go, hey, Bert, you and I share this garden. If we aren't careful, Tony's going to get this butterfly on his own. So then when we worked together to get the butterfly, we both benefited from it, but we kept somebody else from getting it in the process. But then with 3 player, there's also gardens that are only your own. So the best thing you could do is try to make a path to your only garden so that only you benefit from it. So I like the fact that shared gardens, non-shared gardens, which adds some different strategy to it.
Yeah, and also can leave people out. I will say that.
It's true. But you had shared gardens with me and Bert too.
Yeah, but you're like, he's useless. We're not even going to worry about him. It's just between you 2. That's fine. I own this. I know this. That's why when these games come out, I'm like, okay, I'll pass. But once again, it's not the game, it's the player. Don't hate the game, hate the player.
This is one of those games I think any family can learn. I mean, literally, hey, you're going to put a tile, trace the butterfly down through the path to the edge of the tile, and then we just keep going until all the butterflies are gone. The thinky part is, how can I bend this path to make sure that it ends up my garden? Or maybe there's a butterfly heading to somebody else's garden, that special purple one. And that purple one is special because it's the center hex has all the pink and purple. The purple doesn't leave the center hex until all the pink have left the center hex. So it's the last one to move. But if you see it moving towards an opponent's garden, it's like, okay, can I put a tile here to switch it back to connect to this other path that I have that potentially leads to my garden? So yeah, I like it. I will teach it to my family. I'm glad it's come out again. It looks really nice. The butterflies are super nice. is from Capstone Games. They know good quality games, so I love it when they release games. I'm always interested in stuff that they release. So I'm glad to see this back out. I missed it when it first came out in 2012. Butterfly Garden from Reiner Knizia.
5-minute initiative is complete.
We've played several Reiner Knizia games over the past few months. Our latest that we played is Huang from Phalanx Games. Now, there's a history to this game. It was originally Tigris and Euphrates. They got tweaked to Yellow and Yangtze, which came out in 2018, which then Phalanx picked up, rethemed it to a Chinese theme called Huang. Now, I did get to play Yellow and Yangtze back in 2018 when it was released, and so the rules really hadn't changed from that. But Tony, this is your first time experiencing this basically tile-laying game. That's kind of the main mechanism here.
Oh yeah. I mean, I was surprised that I had never played it, but I guess the opportunity never presented itself. But you're absolutely right. This is one of those games that the rules are basically very simple on what you're going to do.
Yeah. So let's just break down what this is. So on your turn, you have 6 tiles that are behind your screen. You can do 2 actions. You can place a tile, which are going to be one of 5 colors. Position one of your leaders, which represent each of the 5 colors of the tiles. You can discard 2 of the blue tiles to cause a peasant's riot. Explain that later on. Discard 2 green trader tiles to establish a pagoda. Explain that later on. Or you can just wipe all the tiles behind your board and draw a new 6. So the actions are very simple. Most of the time, you're literally just going to be placing something on the board, and typically it's going to be a tile. Now, Tony, what's interesting was you did have to kind of learn of all these 5 tiles, when placed on the board, sometimes they gave you an additional action that you do, and then some of the actual colors had placement rules themselves.
And I think that was one of the more challenging things to learn. Like the blue tiles, if I have to place them on the river, but I can place as many as I want. So you're kind of sitting there. There's various things you're sitting there thinking, okay, what do I need to do in order to score points at the end of the game? Because at the end of the game, it's all about victory point. Whichever color of victory points you have, the smallest of, that's your victory points. You could have 30 yellows and 1 red, and guess what? You scored 1 victory point. Mm-hmm. So there's that balance of that, and that to me was the part that, being the first time I've ever played, I was like, okay, how hard can this be? Okay, I was surprised at how challenging it could be.
Typically, when a tile is placed, a point will be scored somewhere, and it's going to be based on a section of the board that you're placing the tile. Now, these are hex-shaped tiles. You got a board that you're placing them on, and typically going to place them into a little territory made up of other tiles. Now, if there happens to be a leader that matches the color of the tile that you placed, the owner of that leader gets a victory point. So, Tony, it may not be your leader. If I place a blue tile in the river that's connected to your blue leader, you get the victory point.
I like that, especially if it's my leader. Go ahead and do that for me a couple of times. That'll make me quite happy.
That other thing that you do, position your leader, is you put it out on the board so that you can start collecting victory points. Now, there is a rule for positioning leaders. They must be around yellow tiles. So putting additional yellow tiles on the board gives you additional places to put your leaders. Like Tony said, the blue ones must go in the river, but you can put down as many as you want. When you put down a green tile, that allows you to take one of the tiles from the market. Instead of drawing blindly, you're going to have a market of tiles on the board. You can pick up one of those if you're looking for a specific color. The red tiles are going to be used when there is a war between 2 warring factions, and the red is going to determine the strength. And then there's the white tile, the ever-coveted white tile, which is the wild card, which ends up being, Tony, I think, the most desired tile, because at the end of the game, you can take all your white tiles and assign them however you want to any other color to try to get that one that maybe you've only got 2 of. Maybe you could bump it up to 4 or 5, and that be your final score.
Now, after you've done all this, now there's a couple of things that can happen. If 2 leaders of the same color happen to meet, bad things happen, or if 2 areas of tiles join together, thus bringing 2 of the same color leaders, it's revolt and war. But before we get into that, I will want to say that if you place a tile that forms a 3 section, like a little triangle of the hexagon, hey, you get to put down a pagoda.
3 tiles are the same color. Yep.
And those are limited. So if you place a pagoda down and you have a leader there, then you're going to get victory points there. If your leader happens to move or leave the game, then, that's going to be rough. Somebody else might get that victory point.
Pagodas are a big deal because at the end of your turn, for every pagoda that's in a zone that has your matching leader, you're going to get a victory point. So those are basically just auto-generated victory points that you don't have to work for. And I think that's where I kind of fell was, I forgot how powerful these were. Because in one of the games that we played, especially the first one, Bert had set out a couple of pagodas and was collecting points off those. And I was thinking, big deal. So he's got tons of that color and that color. That doesn't score him any points. But having those pagodas means you don't have to worry about those colors anymore. Now you can just focus on the ones you don't have a lot of. Where if you don't have a lot of pagodas, you're having to level up each one individually. Okay, I just got a blue. That means the red one has the minimum. So I need to put a red one down and get a point there so I can, and level them up equally. Pagodas remove the stress of having to do all of the tiles.
Now, you said if my leader's there, I'm tired of you generating these victory points for free.
Fair.
I don't want that. I could either destroy your pagoda land by discarding 2 blue tiles. That's an action if I want to. But those blue tiles, they're pretty important to me. So maybe I don't want to do that. Well, you know what? I have my leader of the matching color of your pagoda, of your leader, and he's going to just decide to come in there and say, hey, I want this now, right? We got a revolt going on.
So what we're going to do is count up the number of yellow tiles our leader's adjacent to determine its strength. Then the attacker puts out a number of yellow tiles that they want to bid to increase the strength, and then the defender can do the same.
And whoever wins, that leader is gone. They're off the board. Hey, that's pretty good. Now I control that. And if I did it on my turn, guess what? I get those victory points. So having leaders out, to generate the victory points is very important. But also when they come off the board, you need to start thinking how to be able, hey, I've got so many yellow tiles. I want to take over. He's worked real hard at establishing this area. I need to go in there and take it from him. That was kind of one of those things that I kind of held back on because I was concerned. My tiles never matched. I never had the yellow tiles. And you and I talked about this. Yellow tiles are a premium at times.
Yeah. And in fact, I will say the distribution of tiles is different. There are some that have more in the bag than others do. Now, another way you can have a conflict is there's a collection of tiles is called a state. And a state can only have one type of color leader in it. But somebody can choose to take a tile and put it between 2 states to join them together. This creates a war if both states have matching color leaders in them. And at that point in time, every matching color leader is going to be fighting each other. And everybody around the table can actually play and get involved in the war. Now, this was where the red tiles come involved. You're going to count up the number of red tiles in each state, and that determines the strength. Then, starting to the left of the attacker, players can commit red tiles to one state or the other state to increase the strength. And then at the end, if the attacker exceeds the strength, then they are the winner, and all matching leaders on the other state are wiped off the board, just like it was with the regular revolt. But the losing state loses all the red tiles. But that's not the only thing. The winning state also loses tiles. The strength of the losing state is the number of tiles that the winning state must also discard. Now, Tony, I like this because that means the winner is also taking a hit. So they just can't keep warring with other people. They're actually not as strong as what they were before the war. So there is a risk in that if you're going to attack, realize that you're going to take a hit also.
So you sit there and you're negotiating with people. It's, when it first happened, I wasn't too keen on this, but later in the game, I was like, okay, I see the brilliance of this, the war, of joining the states. Suddenly you have these big states, and now possibly they bring them together, and now there's only one left. Oh my, that's a huge one, and it can branch over to another one. And things can get convoluted pretty darn quick. That I was starting to see the strategy behind this. All in all, I was like, okay, I'm going to lose a leader here, but maybe I sacrifice them so that you're not as powerful in this. And then I come in and bring another leader in on my turn. All this positioning strategy of, okay, do I really want Marty to win? No, I want him to lose because I want him to lose his leader here. So mine can come in and then I can possibly begin racking up some victory points.
Yeah. And I think that's part of the fun of the game is during that wartime. And what I do like the kind of negotiation, but it's not long and drawn out. It's not like a long resolution. You can kind of quickly decide which side you want to win. Then do you want to dedicate any red tiles to them? By the way, also, if you haven't placed your red leader, you could dedicate your red leader to increase the strength. Likewise, in a revolt, if your yellow leader's off the board, you could also commit him to increase the strength too. So it's one of those Knizia type games where the actions are simple, but the strategy behind the actions is clever. And I think the thing that I love the most is the fact that you're going to be scoring points in all the different colors, but it's the one that you have the least of is the one that's going to be the final score. So you have to strategically try to make sure, level them up at the same time, or just run away with a couple colors. Like Bert did a good job in that game that we played. He just ran away with a couple. Then he's like, fine, I'm just going to focus on these two right over here because I doubt these two will ever catch up to the other two. And by the time we blew up the pagodas by playing 2 blue tiles and, destroying pagodas and stuff, it was kind of already too late at that point. I also like, too, that the scoring is pretty low in this game. If you happen to get 10 points, you're doing really good.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, even though he ran away with it in the yellow category or whatever, the green as well, the difference didn't matter, except maybe for a tie. So it's one of those things that you're sitting there going, oh, go ahead and take all those yellow. We don't care. That's not going to help you at the end game. What I can do is prevent you from taking blue, shut you down on the blue, and therefore if I can track your blue, then you're not going to score as much at the end. So that's fine. But maybe I'll have to remove your yellow later, and then I can go in there and start collecting the points. So maybe I don't want to blow up your pagoda by removing 2. I enjoyed the fact that there was a lot of strategy when it came to the war and where to commit. I mean, the game at first didn't really grab me from the standpoint of just the play, but I think it was kind of one of those things that it grew. It kept growing on me as we played it through the night because I wasn't seeing a lot of the strategy at first. So I think, a couple plays, you'll definitely understand why it should have been remade 3 times.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm the same way. I enjoyed the game. Typically, I don't like these kind of I didn't used to. Years ago, I didn't like these head-to-head butting games. I like this one in its simplicity. I like the way that the scoring works. We've been playing a lot of tile laying games recently. I don't know what the kick is. We just played a lot of, but this one feels different in what you're doing. So I appreciate that too. So anyway, you're going to keep going till there's no more tiles in the bag, and literally everybody just removes their screens because all the points are hidden. You don't know what anybody has. And then it's like you just walk around the table and say, okay, what you got the least of? That's your final score. Wrap up. So I love the quick scoring also.
Absolutely. So, for me, turtling's not a good thing.
No, you can't turtle.
But I don't know if it's so much head-to-head or battling. I mean, yeah, sometimes we had to tear someone else down so that we kept them in check. But I don't know if it's that much of a head-to-head. It's a lot of strategy and how to place those leaders out there and take advantage of what other people have built.
Or if you're not taking advantage, then you want to possibly destroy what they've built. Now, you know what? The one thing we didn't mention, if there's a pagoda on the board and you can come in and do a revolt against the leader of the owner of that pagoda, if you win, hey, guess what? You're now in control of the pagoda. So you don't have to blow up a pagoda or move it to another location. So there are multiple ways to get it. Build it yourself and just take it from somebody else, or just take over somebody else's.
You really enjoyed it. One that, hey, if you put it out on the table, we're going to quickly be able to refresh ourselves on the rules and how things work. Beautiful screen, beautiful components. I'll admit that you did not have the collector mega edition. So I had no problem with the standees for the leaders. Matter of fact, I appreciated the standees. Easier to see the board.
So just to let you know, there's a deluxe version with all incredible miniatures. We got the retail version because I think that's the one that's more really accessible. But Tony, I kind of am tempted to go to Miniature Market, who has it, and get the nice miniatures. I don't know. The only thing I had issue with the standees is that everybody had a certain race, but basically it was the Chinese New Year, the animals. And the only way you could tell the colors on them was basically by the stand that they were on, but then they had their unique shape. I wonder if the miniatures would be more distinguishable as opposed to the standees.
Yeah, easily from this. And it was funny that the miniatures had colors in their robes to indicate which base they were on. That was kind of fun.
Yeah.
I think I got 1 out of 5 right when I was putting them together.
One nitpick though, there's an insert with this game that you might as well just toss. The thickness of this box is a pizza box. It's really thin, but there's this nice insert with a plastic insert with a cover on it. But once you get all the standees on, there's no way to use it. So I thought, am I doing this wrong? So I went and looked up on some forums. It's like, nope, it's kind of useless. So in the trash it went, so I could get everything back in the box. So that's my one little nitpick. I mean, for a 90-minute game, I enjoyed it. Definitely play it again. That's Huang from Phalanx and Rhino Knizia. Make sure to head over to Miniature Market. Start keeping an eye on things with the Origins coming up, Gen Con coming up. You're going to start seeing pre-orders for these hot games. And if you aren't going to the show, heck, even if you're going to the show, sometimes that stuff sells out. So pre-order it over at miniaturemarket.com. Don't forget you can use our affiliate link over at our website, rolldicetakenames.com. Help out the show a little bit that way and let them know, hey, we came here because of these idiots over here, so we'd greatly appreciate that. Make sure to sign up to their newsletter so you can keep up to date with all their latest releases and sales and everything. Don't forget, if there's a game you're interested in, you can get notified when it comes back in stock. And you can always order games, put them on hold, and when you're ready to have them shipped to you, just release them and they'll be on their way. To find out more, just head over to miniaturemarket.com.
Five-minute initiative begins in 3, 2, 1.
All right, another 2-player game we got to play was called Timber Town. This is from Alley Cat Games, designed by Ryan Boucher. Let me just say, Alley Cat Games never disappoint when it comes to components. They are spot on, man. And Timber Town, we are little eager beavers, and we are out to build our village. And we're competing by taking tiles from a center board that are floating down a river. And when we take them and how we offload them determines which column we're allowed to put them on our own player board. That's a twist of one of these tile laying games that, you know, as the tiles move, you may only put them in the column. Of course, there are actions that will allow you to break some of these rules. And there are, in each game, there are 7 scoring objectives that you need to make sure everybody understands, because there are homes, temples, workshops, a construction yard, markets, there's parks, and then the ones that always come out are the beavers that can travel throughout the town, which is basically path following, that you'll get points if your beaver can go from one side of the board to the next, as long as he passes through the tile that he first came on. Various actions that include a crane, which will allow you to claim a tile to place it on a column on your town board, on any column on your town board, a dam token that breaks the adjacency rules that are applied when placing a tile, because you have to have a path. Think of Carcassonne, where you have to have things matching up side by side. And then, of course, there's the raft token that gives you the ability to claim a tile for later that is going to move down. Do this until the boards are full, till the tile boards are full, or everybody's done. Get your victory points based on the various scoring objectives. Highest number wins. Cute little tile laying game.
Draft and tile place. I think the unique thing about it is, like you said, you've got the moving tile draft board, which basically you start out the game with just 3 tiles available. That's only that you can only put in your basically the column that's numbered 4, and you're going to draft from that. So each of us draft 1 tile. Then that set of that set of tiles shifts, and a new row of tiles come in. And if you ever shift down to the last tile, the last column, and tiles that weren't taken, they leave the game. They don't wrap around, they fall off, and then 3 brand new tiles are brought on when that board is brought back to the other side for new drafting. So there's a little bit of planning ahead. It's like, this column doesn't need that particular tile right there, but I know I'll go first next round, so I'm going to wait. And that I know that tile is going to shift 1 column, then I'll take it. Or like you said, you do have the dam, where you could freeze a tile and make sure that you get it next turn or for the column that you need.
That was the raft.
Raft. I'm sorry. Dam is what joins. That's another thing too, man. It's like
no, I screwed that up. Dams get you take an additional tile. You can scuttle a construction tile that allows you to then you place it on your board and says, okay, these paths are now connected.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say that's another part of the strategy too. Is you got to make sure the paths match, and so some of the tiles have only one path. Some have 4. Some have 3. Some have 2. So as you're drafting, you got to make sure that everything lines up. That's also into addition to in-game scoring, because every building scores differently. Like, for example, we did one where the park was get 5 points if the park is in any corner of your board.
Right. You hate drafter.
And I did hate draft. That one. But there's different scoring cards for the parks. So not every time you play, it's going to be that one. So it's one of those things you just got to kind of keep looking at the scoring cards. Okay, this one does this. This one does this. So I want to have different color blocks around this block. I want these guys in the corner. I want this guy in that sort of deal. So you do have to kind of keep track of that, along with making sure the paths match up and everything.
Yeah. So, I mean, I play a lot of the tile laying type games like this. This was a fun little 2-player. I can see where, Don and I can sit there and quick game, 30 minutes, very fast game, easy to set up. I also liked on the river tile, based on the color that was the first river, that's who's going. So you never lose who gets to draft first, because as you move these river tiles down, there's always, this player gets to go next. So you see that it alternates, but believe it or not, for us older people, that sometimes we forget. And there you go. And
the river tiles are basically the tiles that you're drafting from. So that's where the new tiles get placed, and the one that and those tiles slide down. So it's one of those that the drafting mechanic is really cool. The tile placement isn't very unique, meaning you've seen a lot of games. It's like, here's your in-game scoring conditions, place the tiles accordingly and get the most points. What's unique is the fact that the drafting part of you can only put it in the column you draft from, so you might need to plan ahead as those tiles start shifting down the board.
Yeah, so nothing really mind-blowing here. So just, consider it, look forward to the game as far as, do I need another 2-player game that has this tile mechanism to them? Because we've seen this in other games, sacrifice various point cards to get other point cards, same methodology. So that is Timbertown from Alley Cat Games.
5-minute initiative is complete.
Shopping is hard.
I can never find anything in my size.
I don't even know my size.
I buy my clothes the same place I buy my groceries.
There's a better way. Make it easy with Stitch Fix. Just share your size, style, budget, and done. Your personal stylist sends pieces picked just for you.
That was easy.
Stitch Fix. Online personal styling for everyone. Free shipping and returns. No subscription required. Get started today at stitchfix.com.
All right. I went to the midnight release. I got myself a Switch 2. No issues.
Really? Imagine that. Nintendo handled it well, unlike other people.
They handled it well, and we're recording this about a week after release, and I just saw today that in Target and Best Buy, a new shipment's arrived. And they just announced in the first 4 days that they have sold 3.5 million units, making it the fastest selling console in history.
Imagine that. Everybody loves their Switch, loves their Nintendo. But this is one thing. I do not have Switch envy or console envy here. I don't need this. I mean, I was talking with my mother-in-law, and she was like, what is all this? And I'm like, well, it's the Nintendo Switch is coming out. She goes, yeah, it's been on the news. And I go, yeah. So people actually stand in line for this? I go, oh, yeah. Well, and I go, she goes, well, how much that thing cost? I go, $450. She goes, you got to be kidding me. Yeah, it's not a cheap thing. That computer is more powerful than anything you used when you worked. And she's like, really? I said, yeah, but people love them. People absolutely love the Nintendo. Now, have you had any issues? Was there any transfer issues or any problems?
Zilch. Transfer was absolute piece of cake. It walks you through it. Push this button. Put these beside each other. Wait a couple minutes. Done. One thing that I really like is, come to find out, a lot of the first generation games, Switch 1 games, get an automatic buff to how they play. So some of the games that were released on Switch 1 basically had their frame rate cap removed. So basically it's like, hey, we'll show as many frames per second as we possibly can. Those games are now benefiting from the Switch 2 because their frame rate that may have been 30 before was going to go up to 60 and stay at 60 the whole time. So there's some games like Hyrule Warriors, which I stopped playing because the frame rate dropped so bad, is now actually playable. And then there's some games that got free updates, like Breath of the Wild, the latest Pokemon game, got free updates to make them look a bit better. So a lot of people are revisiting their Switch 1 games just because they look and run better now.
Okay. I didn't realize that, but I'm just going to live vicariously through you. How is the Mario Kart 24 player matches? Have you gotten into any?
I haven't done 24, but the game is really, really good. It's really good. It's has a free roam mode, so you can just kind of drive around and you'll find a little secret quest that you can do. And if you do the quest, it unlocks this and that. So that's really fun just to go around and do without necessarily racing. But my first goal was to unlock Rainbow Road. So that night I spent however long it was you have to play every race. You have to finish in the top 3 of every race in order to unlock Rainbow Road. And that was my goal. And Rainbow Road is really good.
I'm just curious. I have not opened up all my Mario Karts, but I know they kept releasing Mario Kart packs.
Yeah.
So if I have regular Mario Kart, of course I can play it on the Switch too. I just can't interface with all these people, right?
Right. Yeah, you can still play Mario Kart 8 Deluxe all day long if you want. But what was also sweet too is the GameCube stuff. Immediately started up F-Zero GX. Unfortunately, I shouldn't have done it right after playing Mario Kart because, you're leisurely playing Mario Kart and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, everything's moving so fast on F-Zero and I'm bouncing into walls and blowing up. It was insane.
Man, I can't even remember some of the GameCube games I played besides Skies of Arcadia.
Wow. Did you never played Wind Waker, did you?
Yes, I did.
I did crank up the start of that just to hear that music that I love. I love the Wind Waker soundtrack. So
I'm glad you got it. There were no complications. You got your GameCube controller. You got your games.
I got my Pro Controller 2, which is an amazing controller, probably one of the best ones I've ever used.
If we could get a sponsorship for video games, Satisfy would be nice. Hey, Satisfy, come over here for your case and your holder. I don't know. I know they're working on bringing one out. I think they opened up pre-orders for it recently.
I pre-ordered. Okay, it's supposed to ship next month because I love my Satisfy grip.
Oh yeah, me too. My old-fashioned Switch 1, my archaic Switch 1. Yeah, I love my Satisfy. You had that on the plane when we recently traveled to Oklahoma. I was playing on my Switch, and Donna was kind of bummed. She goes, "Where's your iPad?" And I'm like, "It's at home. I don't carry that anymore because it's so old."
And what'd you play on
It's
Switch?
sad. So yeah, I was just playing the Switch.
What were you playing?
Oh, I was playing Puzzle Quest because it's easy, and then I revisited the monster game that I had. Oh God, it's like
Monster
Pokemon.
Hunter?
Not Monster Hunter. No, I gave that one up. It was like a Pokemon game. They called it a JRPG monster game where you have a tech tree of monsters. And I restarted because I couldn't remember what I needed to be doing. So I was playing that. And I was like, okay, I need to go look some stuff up because something's not clicking here. Not enough explanation. Anyway, I enjoy that game. It's a fun game where you have a tech tree, unlike you had in Pokemon.
Yeah, no, I've heard really good things about that one. So I need to check that one out. I think it's on my wish list. I just never got it.
All right, The Floor.
Yes,
watch the final episode of The Floor. What an iconic ending! Very good. I like how they did it. I like how the two people had to do the best of 3 battle.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a topic that none of them either had, but they all knew that it was coming.
Yep. I like that too.
I was like, wow. And the fact that the Jeopardy champ lost made it even better.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And the woman who basically sacrificed herself.
Yeah.
Basically lost on purpose so that he would take over wedding or something like that. Gave him a category in hopes that somebody could beat him in an easier category.
Maybe she signed off a little side deal instead of the $250,000 or whatever it was. I hate that the guy from Clerks did not go all the way through, but he had a very good run.
Yep. Brian.
Yeah. Yep. So it was entertaining. I know they were getting ready to do the next one.
Good.
I think, they're getting ready to sign that. And supposedly, this is filmed over a couple weeks, not this long drawn out stuff.
Right.
I did pretty good. I didn't realize I didn't know as many quarters, the faces of quarters. Ooh. And the cosplay I did kind of okay, not too great, but at least I did better than the one person on the romantic rom-coms.
Oh my gosh. That was just bad.
I know I saw it on YouTube. They had the entire season 3. Somebody had the entire season 3 out on YouTube. I'm sure it's pirated, but it was all right there. So you can watch
there's been 3 seasons? Wow. I thought it was just 2.
I think it was season 3. Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well, with that, keep spinning disc.
We could also do a video game podcast too and just come up. Just whatever we feel like talking about at the time, we just change the name of the show to that.
If we do it anyway, we're just people have gotten used to that.
That's why people don't listen anymore. And taking names. Hey everybody, thanks for listening. If you want to support the show, you can do so over at buymeamoonpie.com. You can head over to our website, rolldicetakenames.com. You can subscribe to all our socials over there, and make sure to follow us and like and give us a review on things like iTunes and Spotify. We'd greatly appreciate it.
All right. I got a bone to pick with you.
Oh, crap.
Don't ever make me into a baby meme again. Go check out our YouTube page if you don't know what I'm talking about. Don't you do that to me again.
Every hero strikes out on their adventure for a different reason.
To prove myself worthy of my mother's praise.
To write my own story and discover who I really am.
To prove to my family that I am more than they believe me to be.
To revive the god that has chosen me.
But when the fragile balance of the world is in jeopardy, and sinister forces move in the darkness, heroes will be tested, pushed to their limits and beyond. And it will be left to them to determine if they are up to the task. There is a darkness rising. Will they be able to overcome the challenges and meet this evil head on?
For my god.
For my story.
For my freedom.
For the world.
To restore the balance. Modified Role Season 2, The Chronicles of Erin, a D&D 5e actual play podcast. New season, new characters, new story. Find us on all the usual podcasting apps or at modifiedrole.com.